Hello, hello, everyone. I am participating today in another hashtag. Hashtag my favorite tarot cards, not the obvious ones. And not that it will make a difference in a few years, but because this is an October video, every October video that I do on my channel will be dressed up because I love to get into costume. So today I'm a bride because I happen to have this like thrift store veil laying around my house. So anyway, some of these cards are lots of people's favorites. And when I was picking them, I noticed a few things that I wanted to talk about. First of all, there's a lot of sevens. And I thought, wow, there's a lot of sevens. And it's not just because that like mentally 7 is like a lot of people's favorite number, but it's the way in which some of these are depicted as well that, kind of stirred some things up in me. And for me, the sevens, like in a total sense, is all about hope, right? There's like some sort of work involved, a plan in place to where you have hope for the future. I don't know. I guess that's the general idea. I only have 2 major arcanas that are my favorites, but not the obvious ones. So I'll leave all of the decks that I use below because I'm using a few decks today. And I'll go over what they are. Just the list is below if you want it. So the first card that would be like considered my favorite is the Wheel of Fortune. Now, this particular wheel is from the Forest of Enchantment tarot. I love that freaking tarot. There is something about that deck that pulls my inner child out because I was a tree climber and I was a nature baby. I don't have a memory of my childhood that I wasn't outside. A good one. So anyway, this particular Enchanter's Wheel, they call it in this tarot, it was about the work that you put in to keep the magic going, to keep the magic of the forest thriving, right? It's like a spell. And I felt like that. I felt that it was a spell of continual magic. Like you've put this down, you've twisted these vines and you've put all of these little, there's like little bits and bobs in here. It just looks so witchy. I actually made it. And it's hanging on my front door. And every few months, like probably usually around the Sabbats, I will, the Sabbats and the Esbats, I put herbs on it, like to keep the magic flowing. And the spell that came from getting this deck, I never would have thought to do that myself. And so the wheel for me is all about like destiny, fate, but upon getting this tarot and doing this spell with an enchanter's wheel of my own, it turned the meaning to me into hope for the future. Let's keep the wheel going. Let's keep the magic flowing. So that's always nice to find new meanings and new layers, right? The second is the Hanged Man. There's so many meanings to the Hanged Man that, we could be here all day. But for me, specifically, the Hanged Man is all about there's something happening in your life or that's going to happen that is going to change how you think about something. There's something that's going to happen, something that's going to be said, or I interpret a situation in a way that will change how I think about certain things. And that's what the Hangman means for me, especially when I'm reading for self, which is most of the time. But the Tarot of the Haunted House, I think Haunted House Tarot, whatever, it's the one by Sasha Graham. I love that because I'm a gothic fiction novel reader. Like that's where my love lies. And their depiction of the Hanged Man is this skeleton in the closet. And when I picked this deck, when I got this deck and I saw this, I thought, well, that would definitely change my perspective of some things if I found a skeleton in the closet. And when I find a card from a deck that I buy that changes how I look at the card in such a way that I'm having to question all the other cards' meanings, that fills me with such pleasure. So I love that depiction of the Hanged Man because it still has that meaning, but it changed the way I look at the why I chose those meanings. And so anyway, there you go. Okay, I think I have a few per suit, but you know, we'll just go on with it. Two of Wands. This figure just fills me with so much happiness. There's something about this specific depiction that fills me with wanderlust. It fills me with this path that's out in front of me, and I've got the whole world in the palm of my hand. This path that I could go to the desert, I could go to the beach, I could go to I could go to any place. The world is my oyster. And I love feeling that way. I'm very spontaneous and I like to travel. So there's a level of me that likes to get out and do day trips, likes to get in the car and go places just within a few hours of my house. And then that kind of soothes the wanderlust a little bit. But I haven't been anywhere far away from my home for an extended period of time. I just have never financially been able to do that. So this card fills me with a hope that one day I will be this figure and I will travel to great places and learn different cultures and talk to people and hug people. And I think that the universal sign for humanity that everyone would understand is a smile and a hug. And I would love the opportunity to go and give that to people. So that's why I love that card. Okay, this is probably my favorite minor arcana card in a tarot deck. The Eight of Wands. Now, before I show you my depiction, it's basically swiftness, especially because I'm a Thoth reader, it's swiftness, right? So there's a quickness to it. I think I love and have always loved this card because I'm not patient. I ain't. If it can be done quickly, I'm going to do it. I do not like putting projects off. As soon as the project was told to me, or even if it was on a syllabus somewhere, I was like, ooh, I need to get started on this. And I hated waiting until the last minute. I'm quick about it, but I also have to be good at it. There's certain aspects that I have to take my time on things and stuff like that. But I really do think that in all tarot decks, I look for the Eight of Wands because there's a level of impatience there, but then there's a level of when you do, just put your mind to it and get it done. And there's a swiftness in the work that you're putting in and that energy that you're putting in. It's harder to talk yourself out of it if you have that mindset. And that's always been my mindset, is that I'm not gonna leave room to talk myself out of doing it. I'm just gonna get it done. And I picked my homemade tarot deck's depiction of this because I love working with my very own tarot deck. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I have a video already. I have a video up, and I'll leave it in the cards up here for you to go watch if you are interested. But it's just like my pre-Raphael tarot deck. But this is the card that I picked for Eight of Wands. I don't know if this is gonna. There we go. It's gonna focus. But this figure, okay, is riding on Pegasus to get somewhere fast. And her posture, how both of her legs are on one side, like she's side saddle. It's not that she's side saddle. It's that she's looking below to where I always envision this as she's looking below to see where she needs to jump. Kind of like a parachute person. Like you got to know where to jump out of the plane, in order to know where to land. So that's what she's doing. She's mapping out when she needs to let go of Pegasus. And she'll have to do it quick. She'll have to do it really quick. So I love this depiction that I chose for the Eight of Wands, because when I like to think of that, I like to think, okay, it's got to be swift. No time to really think about it. And that's okay, you know? Okay. Seven of Cups. We all know the depiction in the Rider-Waite of the Seven of Cups. This beautiful, let's focus in, people. This beautiful depiction of these, what Arthur Edward Waite called fairy thoughts. For me, that's exactly what it is. There's too many beautiful things in my face. I couldn't possibly choose one. Of course, I want the jewels, and I want the dragon, and I want the castle, and I even, if I don't want the snake, but the snake might be slithering towards me anyway without me knowing. Or what if I am like, Dorothy, and I want what's behind the curtain, like, oh, well, just it becomes The Price is Right then. It's like, I want door number 2, and then it's a freaking can of soup or something, not the car. So it's about, yes, you can choose, and yes, you can map out as much as you can, but if there are too many choices, to me, that goes back on being honest with the self, knowing the self, and in your gut what all that means. So I love that card. Okay. I have 2 discs and 2 swords. That's it. This is a recent deck of mine, and it's called the Light and Shadow Tarot. I love it because it's kind of thothy, but it seems to be mixing Rider-Waite Smith and Thoth together, and I love that. Just because they're both like my best decks, my best working decks. So this depiction of the Seven of Pentacles, and I'm sorry if this is turned around, but it really won't matter. Right here, this growth looks exactly like what the card in the Thoth Tarot looks like, if you're unfamiliar. And then, of course, this figure, this melancholy, pensive type of a figure, that is what we normally see in the Rider deck. And for me, there's a hope there. There's yes, you're working hard. It seems tedious, and you just keep having to do it, but it's about the harvest too. This is a Saturn card in Taurus. So that's a very earthy, a very harvesty card. It actually reminds me of this time of year, that we're cultivating things, right? And we keep wanting to put forth the work, even though it is tedious and can be dull. Okay. Think about when farmers plow, and they have to know when the rain's coming. They have to know when to seed, because there's specific times to seed. And then, of course, there's the time to scythe it all down, right? The corn down or whatever. And it's about knowing all of those things, and it can just be so overwhelming and so tedious, but you do the work because of the benefits. And whenever I feel like the work that I do isn't going to amount to anything, or this isn't helping, this is just, why do I have to keep doing this? I have to do the same thing all the time. But then I think of this card, and I think, if I stopped, I would no longer reap the benefits. And you have to believe that the benefits outweigh the work. And in my opinion, if it doesn't, stop doing the work. Okay. This deck is my lovely Tarot of the Crone by Ellen Lorenzi Prince. I love this deck. I actually love all these decks, so whatever. But the 8 of Discs, there's a figure there that seems to be building this wall of pentacles, right? And for me, it is about the work. Much like the 7 of Discs that I just showed, it's about the work, but there's a plan. It's not just about the work, the dull, the tediousness, but it's also about doing extra, because sometimes it's needed to put up. Like all that, you reap all of that, and then you have a countertop, because this has happened to me before, you have a countertop full of tomatoes, right? Literally you have a towel down, and you have a countertop, a kitchen countertop full of tomatoes because of the harvest. What do you do with all those tomatoes? You don't just leave them there, right? You reaped the benefits of the harvest from the 7. You did all the work, you cultivated, you took care of the bugs, from the tomatoes, getting rid of the bugs that are eating them the hell out, getting the bunnies out because they're hell here. You just take care of the garden, right? Well, that was the 7. But then you turn to the 8s. Once you've already reaped the harvest, then what do? You have to can them. You have to do something with them. Squish them up, put them in Ziploc bags, and freeze them for chili for the winter. There's things you do with tomatoes that help plan for the future after you've reaped the benefits. But this depiction in the Tarot of the Crone, it's discs in this deck, but whatever. There's a fortress here. There's 4-walled, seems to me, I imagine this to be double wall, like a 2-story fortress. That just means that there's 8 walls, really, not 4. And it means to me there's a severe stability with the 8 of discs. This work that you have put in from the 7s is that you've been doing so good with keeping with the plan, keeping with the tediousness, and you've been really thinking on how to can the ways in which you can use the benefits, right? You have to protect those benefits. And the way you do that is to not let the tomatoes rot. You protect it. You protect what you've done. And I think that that's a beautiful message. I think that the Pentacles, in a total sense, even though I've only picked 2, they hold such good messages for mundane things. Yeah, it's great to know yourself in all aspects, but that's a lifetime of work to know yourself. And to know yourself mentally is hard because you don't always want to trust your own thoughts. And it's hard to know where your passions lie without really getting down and doing a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of hobbies in order for you to know yourself better, right? Like, let's just say. So it can be kind of tedious in and of itself to know yourself in other aspects, but the mundane things, you go to work, you get in your car, you go to work, you work, it's stressful. And then as you're there, you're worried about the fact that you have a belly now because you have a desk job, right? Shit like that. Then you come home, you eat dinner, you go to bed, blah, blah, blah. Same thing every day. It's a mundane things. Laundry, dishes, blah, 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 blah. The Pentacles hold, especially in the Tarot, the Pentacles hold such magic for what you have to do and reaping the benefits of that to have a happy life. And I think that's beautiful. Now we get to the sword suits. Okay. My all-time favorite sword card in the Minor Arcana is the 2. Look at this figure. There's a level of innocence with this figure. I mean, they're wearing white. So they're wearing white. So to me, there was always an innocence here. Of course, there's an innocence because it's the beginning of the suit as well. But there's an innocence with this figure and not knowing the future. Not having the hope yet. Not having a plan in place. Not knowing themselves mentally to trust their gut. That's exactly what this card tells me. Is that this figure is naive and innocent in the ways of their own mind. Therefore, there are levels of decision-making skills that this figure doesn't have. And I believe that the whole suit of swords is to know thyself. Big bold letters up at the top. I am a firm believer that that is the message of the entire tarot. But for this card specifically, I love this depiction because when this comes up in a reading, and let's say that there's 9 other cards, I always look to this card and think, is there an aspect in where I am mentally that's me not trusting myself? Me not trusting my intuition? Me not trusting my gut? And I am forcing myself not to make a decision, and forcing myself not to make a decision because because I'm trying to be a peacemaker. I'm trying to make others happy, and I'm not listening to my gut. And I don't want to be that person. I want to trust my gut. I want to trust my instincts. And especially when we're talking in terms like I'm a mom, if I don't trust my instincts, then that can lead to tragedies. Worst case scenario list. But it could. And I think about those things, and I think about the waters behind this figure too. Detached emotions in this card, because you have to kind of be detached from your emotions to not let them overpower the gut feeling as well. There's a lot to say about the Two of Swords in there. Okay, last card is the Seven of Swords. And all the videos and articles I've read, they say there's like this, this deceitfulness, right? But for me, there's a humor in deceitfulness. There's I'm stuck, right? I'm stuck, and I need to be deceitful in order to get unstuck. Tell a white lie, or, tell a dirty joke to get them to laugh so that the conversation is turned around, It doesn't have to be as severe as telling a white lie. I'm just saying sometimes you have to do a little something, something to change the energy, And in this new deck that I just got, I freaking love it. And I'll leave that unboxing in the cards as well. I won an IG giveaway from Travis McHenry for the Tarot of Vlad Dracula. And I'm just so excited because this deck is like my new fave. And it's October. But anyway, here's Seven of Swords. And it says Vlad's narrow escape. Let's focus. I love this. And it's him being imprisoned, right? And for me, that just really, it's like a way end on one side of the spectrum of this card. There was a level of deceitfulness that he would have to embody to escape. There's an intelligence with that. Think of the escape artists that we've seen the documentaries of. It takes desperation. It really takes desperation and fine-tuning a plan. And for me, that's what the card means, is there's a fine tune in how to conduct a plan, and then also trusting your gut. If you do have to do some, preventive measures, morality that you must face in order to move your plan along, that has to be okay. It's for you, right? So I love this depiction because these figures here are trying to prevent him from escaping. And Vlad has to find paths and things and tunnels on how to escape. And there has to be a level of deceitfulness, if not just plain intelligence as to how he was going to. And I think that's the message of the Seven of Swords. Plan, do what you have to do to be 100. And in this case, Vlad had to be 100 by not being imprisoned anymore. Okay, so those were all the cards. Like I said in the beginning, I will leave all of the names of the decks that I used below if you want to check any of them out. Go check my other videos that I have up in the cards if you want to see my handmade deck and the Tarot of Vlad Dracula's unboxing. And thank you to Saturnium. I think that's how you say their name. I'll leave a link to their channel below for the original video for this tag. Go check it out because it was fantastic, and I love looking and stalking tags like this to see what others' favorite cards are and how a lot of them aren't the ones that we think they are. So I hope to see everyone again on the channel. Much love.